Blessings, everyone. Today was just beyond incredible. I went for a very peaceful walk today through the nature reserve, and there was the birds of prey. I seen the osprey and all the ducks, the geese, the swans, and there was this amazing egret that came through with spirit today as I was being guided with some teachings, and it lifted the energy. And so I wanted to do a reading from the Spirit of the Animal Oracle, because walking with the trees and the water was just, it was radiance today. And I've seen a lot of my friends on Twitter have been having the most beautiful experiences connecting with all the different creatures, whether it's an insect or it's been an animal, a bird. It's just been absolutely breathtaking. And so I would like to do this oracle today and ask Spirit and Source to allow me to be a medium of light, and all of the animals, the creatures, great and small, please step forward to bring a message for the highest good. Okay, I'm going to shuffle. And I shuffle 3 times. One is for Source, one is honoring Spirit, and one is honoring Soul. And I usually just take one card today. So here we go. Whatever comes up. Sometimes they fly out, sometimes it's they move out of the deck, whatever I get from them. Whoops. These are very, whoops. Okay, so when it's come out, this is incredible. It was an egret, but I kept saying heron in the video. So heron, patience. Create a place in nature's stillness and be renewed. Take time alone to find balance. Step confidently towards your purpose, and patience will bring rewards. And these birds are just, we have the blue heron. Where I'm from, they usually are mostly found in the wetlands here. They are just an incredible, incredible energy. They are so graceful and so poised. And that's something that comes right through when I'm looking at this card, and the energy that they're bringing through is just a lot of poise and grace and a lot of patience, definitely, because they're listening. And they have to be very still in order to get the little fish. I mean, these little fish are darting around in the shallowest waters, and any movement and any ripples that are created would scare them away. And so the heron has to be very, very still and very, very cautious and patient in order to get the fish. And so that's a beautiful message, a reminder of that. And so I'm just going to read. Heron live in 2 worlds at the same time. Their feet are planted in the watery world of intuition, and their head is in the sky of the mind. They stand for long hours staring into the water and their own reflection. Introspection helps heron people know themselves and understand others. They need to be careful to not let self-absorption turn into self-criticism. The heron is usually solitary and loves the peace of quiet isolation. They can be very happy alone. Their shyness is not weakness, but self-preservation. If you're a heron person, you are intuitive, thoughtful, graceful, and authentic. You're a natural philosopher and ponder the deeper meanings of existence. You are aware and watchful, and these traits help keep you safe. Focusing on your goals assures that all your needs will be met. Heron people know how to wait for opportunities to arrive. Their patience is a virtue. Those with heron as a totem have an elegant manner that is their natural way of being. Heron people know how to look within to find answers that can lead them to their dreams. If heron glides into your world, take some time into self-reflection and ask the wise heron to help you know yourself, your strengths, and the path to your purpose. And so that's they're mentioning, they're saying today that this is what many of us are doing. We're finding that along with finding our soul family, there's been a lot of time by ourselves, a lot of this introspection, but we have to also balance that. We don't want to go so far in that we've created isolation from each other, but we all need the space. And there is a big difference between being alone and being lonely, that we have to be comfortable in our own company and find that peaceful gracefulness within that. And so there's also this beautiful part of the card, the oracles, that is called the contrary. And these are questions that the totem, the spirit animal, asks us to look while we're reflecting during this time that we're alone in the stillness, that we ask ourselves. And it kind of helps guide along what the heron may have come into our awareness for. Don't let your introspection turn into self-criticism. So if we're having these moments where they're saying where we're looking over things, maybe we had a moment of introspection because we've just been through an event or a lesson, a teaching, and we have to be able to be objective and step outside of the emotional part of things, and not look through the lens of the situation or the emotion that arises in it, but try to stay objective and just look at things that we're not judging. We're not judging. When we've gone through in a life event or if we've processed through something, that we have to be able to, we know we're healed from something when we're able to look at it and we're not being critical of the whole experience. That we're able to just be centered in it and say, wow, that was interesting. I moved through that. And don't let your frustrations with others' inadequacy swamp your joy of living. And I think we've all been through that. That's a very, very difficult space to be in sometimes, that it's easy to get frustrated with things. But as they were bringing through before I was reading the message from the book, is that we have to be able to be very still and patient. And when we're dealing with things, like the heron is trying to catch the fish, and it may want to quickly dive into the water and reach down and grab it, but it knows just the perfect moment, and it has to be very still, and it's got to watch. And so the message the spirit of the heron is bringing through is that it's important definitely to not let the challenges that we're dealing with others take away that patience or take away that centeredness that we find when we're looking through the water and we're in our place of introspection or in our joy. Because I've heard this many times, and it's something that I absolutely love. What somebody else thinks of me is none of my business, and they're just bringing that through to say that, and that covers that contrary is not to allow what others are saying, or maybe their emotional upsets in that moment when we're in a space of joy to get to us, because we have to remember that what they're thinking and what they're feeling is about us is not our business. Have you forgotten your need for solitude and quiet? And sometimes that's the most important, beautiful, graceful, patient thing that we can do for ourselves, that the heron is bringing through, is just to be still and quiet. And sometimes when we're going through something, sometimes when we're having life challenges, especially of different emotions, I've had many times of grief recently that have come through and kind of put me in that space. And sometimes the first thing we want to do is just be around people. We don't want to sit with that. But the heron and its patience and looking in the water and that self-reflection, it's being still. And sometimes it's the only thing we can do to process And yes, it is good to reach out. Never keep yourself in isolation. If we're feeling that we want to harm ourselves or we're hurting and we feel like it could be very detrimental or damaging, yes, please always reach out. But if we're in a space, something's going on, and we're not quite sure what we're feeling, sometimes that's very important. We have to just be still, they're saying, and listen. Look deep within and be patient with that, so we can sort out what's going on inside before we reach out to others. Because if we're not really sure of what's going on or what our emotions are, like I said, I was going through some grief recently that came through again. I understood that that's a space I have to be in my stillness and by myself and have that patience and that love for myself, because I have to process that. And so they're reminding me of that. Just that when we're going through these things, they're saying that the part of self-love that we learn and the patience with ourselves is to give ourselves that quiet time, to make sure that we're understanding what's going on. Take some time alone to find balance. And I think this is the message that I needed today. It's kind of like that validation that just being alone doesn't always mean that there's something going on that we have to go deep within, and it doesn't mean that we're processing emotions, or it could just be that it's been kind of a chaos day, and we want to be alone. But they're saying that sometimes to be alone in the solitude, in the stillness, is just the balance. It's just the quiet space. Nothing has to push us there. We choose that. And we choose that because we've been feeling whole. Excuse me, they're correcting me. We've been feeling whole in our other aspects. We've been doing our internal work. We've been doing our mental work. We've been doing physical work on our bodies. And now it's time just to sit in that wholeness and just be. And so this is such a beautiful synchronicity today. Again, I had seen the egret and I was making a video, and for some reason I kept saying heron, and I know sometimes the birds get confused, but it felt like that energy, and so that this came out today is my validation, and I hope that the message that the heron brings can inspire anyone who's watching the video. And so I thank you so very much today for allowing me to share some animal medicine with you, and I hope that everybody's been able to get outside and connect with, whether it's the smallest insect to the largest creature that we can find. I've seen some beautiful pictures of dolphins recently that someone has been experiencing, and it was just such joy. So much love to everyone. Beautiful blessings. Enjoy the rest of your week.